with effort, right, you can make a drone which is 100% Indian.
Oh, 100% Indian.
100.
Hardware and the software.
Hardware, some of the chips, etc., would come from outside, but they would come from countries of, let me not put it, which are not of concern. Our customers are armed forces, our customer are police, our customer are a lot of government, our customers are critical infrastructure. Somebody's, looking at power lines, somebody's looking at railways. All these are critical infrastructure. I mean, today, if I were to do something, I don't even fire a bullet at the, let's say at the IB. I can pretty well, cripple the country by just looking at the electricity grid or the railway grid and so on and so forth. Let's look at non-defense first, right? Then we'll come to defense. For the non-defense one, there is a whole certification process, right? I can't be selling a UAV today to anybody without a certification. If I were to remain within the rules of the country, within the ambit of the rules, you can only fly a drone which is in your visual line of sight.
Namaste, welcome to another edition of Sangam Talks Business. This is a series for our Swarajya Conclave, which we hope to launch in 2025, first with colleges and then with a big event, followed by a big event. My guest today is Vishal Saxena, Vice President Business Development at IdeaForge, which is a large drones manufacturer. And Vishal will do a little more introduction. Vishal is an alumnus of NDA and holds a bachelor's degree in technology. He has done his MBA from Indian School of Business and has a dual major in IT and strategic marketing and has 22 years of experience, and now he leads sales and business development at IdeaForge. And with me interviewing Vishal is Major General Arvind Bhatia, who's a third generation infantry officer from Kumaon Regiment. He's served in the army for 37 years, has been an instructor at IMA twice as platoon commander and adjutant. He has had many foreign assignments, including being a defense advisor in the embassy in Islamabad. He spent 12 years in J&K, including at the Siachen Glacier. He superannuated in 2021. Major General Bhatia.
So Vishal, it is good to know that you are also from the National Defense Academy. It's always very good to interact with someone who's donned the olive green and now is doing a white-collared kind of a corporate hierarchy. You are right on top. So it is very good. You've been from the signals. So tell us a little about what IdeaForge is all about. And as I see it, that the drone ecosystem in the country is part of a larger ecosystem where we find that drone warfare has gained a lot of prominence world over. If you see the war with Azerbaijan and Armenia, what we see between Russia and Ukraine, we find that the drones have played a kind of a major role in not only shaping the battlefield, but also providing kind of a capability to strike at depth, to strike in the hinterland, and various other things. So we want you to please tell us what is the ecosystem of drones in the country presently, and where do you see this going in the future as part of the modernization of the Indian Armed Forces?
So first, sir, about IdeaForge. I think IdeaForge came into being in 2007 when these four, let me call them youngsters from IIT Mumbai kind of teamed up. They were just generally having fun with technology. So it wasn't that they will form up, and they were full of ideas, and that's why the name IdeaForge. It's got nothing to do with drones or anything, right? So they were just kind of doing a whole lot of, trying to just play around with technology. And while they were doing this, they were also making drones. They were also making some other products. And then the 2008 Taj, we all know those are vivid memories. Mumbai attacks, right? So, at the Taj Hotel, and if you see those pictures where, you have Indian Navy and helicopters trying to look into the Taj Hotel, right? And that's the kind of thing which it triggered, right? It said, this is just most inefficient, or this is not the correct way of doing it. So probably a quadcopter or something, probably a drone could do a better job. And just at that point of time, one of their prototypes was what they had built just as a hobby project, was also showcased in the movie Three Idiots. I don't know if you, if you recall that's the first prototype. So I think the journey started from there. So the trigger to, get fully into, UAV technology just went on from there. And then they started to build. And when they started to build, in today's world, if I were to look, four of us with fairly good technical skills, fairly good, I'm not superlative, but fairly good technical skills. If we were to think that we can make a drone, we actually can, right? At least, let me call a Jugadu drone, all of us can make, right? Now, there's so much of thing is available on the internet. You get autopilots, you get everything, so let me put it, we're all aware with the car industry. So you have the after car market, right? They traditionally call it. So the after drones market is there today. So you can go and assemble a drone, right? 3-4 of us can do that. At that point of time, when they started off, then they realized that there is nothing. Everything had to be built up from scratch. So they were being from, IIT Mumbai, obviously they had, good technical skills and good command on both hardware and software. So they started to build grounds up. And that's how we are able to do a whole lot of things which a lot of others cannot do, because if you start to integrate, if you take something from here and something from there is as much you can tweak it. You can't tweak it too much. But if you have the control on the complete hardware stack and on the software stack, there is a lot of magic which can take place. Let me just put it that way. So that's what makes us different from any other, right? So today, I mean, I jokingly say that, today probably 100 companies, 100 firms would come up in the drone space, and probably 90 of them die. Not the same ones, probably that's the churn which is taking place, right? So you will have a lot of that, and that's because there are no differentiated, they just Me Too products. People are, people have really, really, how do I put it, lofty ideas as to how businesses are to be run and so on and so forth. What has happened, and, you rightly brought out, sir, this is the year 2020. So even in India, while we were building it up, right, with people adopting it, and one of our things, I think we've been co-creating with a lot of our customers, right? So if you have a problem, we'll go and work with you. What is that problem? How we can solve it, etc., etc. But we also realized, from 2014-15 onwards, so because of the nuisance which was getting created, where you've found a drone, loitering here or loitering there, the government came up with a thought that they call it the NPNT regime, right? It says no permission, no takeoff. So suddenly, right, where this technology was looking very exciting for others to get in, the government came out with regulation, because people did not understand globally, and especially in India as well, as to how do you go and tackle this technology, because you just can't let it go, and you can't let anybody and anyone go and fly these drones. It can be a big security hazard. So I think the government rightly at that point in time did that NPNT, and then they started to toy, okay, now that I have NPNT, who gives permissions? So then the systems and those, regulations started to kind of proliferate. 2020, 2021, we call it the year of transformation for this industry. And I'll give you the reason why it transformed. The 3-4 events which took place. So you rightly brought about the Armenia-Azerbaijan conflict, and not many people realize it. If you look at 50 years of warfare, right, I'm going from 71 to 2020, right? If you look at 50 years of warfare, there has not been a single decisive battle. You've gained some territory, but that 1971 was
after the World War II.
After the World War II, you had the 71, and of course, you had the Israel, whatever conflict took place. Then was the 71 operation, where you had a decisive victory, you had POWs, etc., etc. After that, the Armenia-Azerbaijan conflict, that's when another army actually surrendered, right? And they surrendered because the adversary, or were using this technology, because they just couldn't move their armor and all of that, right? And the world kind of took a notice, and everybody did. So that's the first, let me put it, the inflection point, right? The second inflection point because of the pandemic, now you had a lot of, you had a lot of these Section 144 getting imposed. You had lockdowns and all, and now you have to monitor these lockdowns. How do you monitor without getting into, without getting in physical contact with anyone? So it necessitated that, let's use drones. So the governments all over the world, and especially in India, communities started to see drones. And what also happens, they say the picture is worth 1,000 words. I would say a video is now worth 1,000 pictures, and it is actually true. So people just started seeing that in news, that video, that somebody's monitoring, an area which is infected with, let's say, so many patients of COVID and all. So it just started to get a lot of traction. So events, and then some of this, and then the government just came out with the new drone rules, which kind of eased, adoption of this technology. So that's how it is. That's how the cycle which has been done. And now obviously the Ukraine-Russia has taken it to a completely different level altogether. But while it has taken it to the different level, I mean, our only hope is that we draw the right lessons from it, right? And and probably one of the biggest lessons which we feel of this war is that as a nation we have to develop both capability and capacity, right? If you lack with either, this technology is so destructive, and it can you will have within no time, all your traditional war fighting can come to a standstill, as we've seen in Armenia-Azerbaijan. We've seen, somebody using one tactic in, let's say, in the Russian-Ukraine.
Or even a terrorist organization like the Houthis using it against Aramco and Saudi Arabia.
Absolutely, sir.
It is a poor man's, in fact, weapon, I would say, of destruction.
Absolutely, sir. So it is bought, maybe we talk about asymmetric war, it is an asymmetry in war which has been created, which has traditionally been, from the trench to probably the armor to now there's a third shift which we are finding, which is taking place.
So in this ecosystem of Atmanirbhar Bharat, where all these kind of, I would say, opportunities are being given to the corporate world to partake into and develop indigenous kind of products, which we can not only use in our armed forces, but also export. So where do you find yourself? Where is IdeaForge now, and where is drone capability if you look at the world as a market?
So, sir, if I look at the world as a... So, first, let me look at what IdeaForge is, right? So, we have about 72 patents. We've applied for 72. We've granted, I think, about 42. I could be, plus minus here, but generally about that ballpark figure, and 30 need to be granted, so to say. They are work in progress. Now, we as a company rely very high on technology as a barrier, right? So we will not make a Me Too product. It has to be a differentiated product. Finally, that's what the customer wants, right? Any world across. I give you a bad product, we never give you a free. You are not. Today's people are very, very discerning. They will not take it, right? So firstly, it has to be a differentiated product with, right? Do we have the capability? Yes, we have the capability. And and I'm not saying we are the only one, right? There are players in the ecosystem, in the Indian ecosystem, who have that capability. There will be 1920. I mean, that.
What are these differentiators versus, say, importing from? We have stopped importing from China. I understand DJI is now fully banned after.
DJI is fully banned.
Manipur. This happened.
No. DJI was banned much earlier. As far as the drone rule, when the new drone rules came out, 2021, DJI has been banned
since 21.
Since 21, but
Rahul Gandhi still talks about it. I find that very funny. I mean, it's banned in India, and
so we have to contextualize a little bit, right? And the context is that while it has been banned, and rightly so, actually it's
banned for defense, or it's banned for, even I can't use it as a private player.
So an import of drone is banned actually. So it is not only DJI, you cannot import a drone. You have to take a DGFT, which is the Director General of Foreign Trade, their permission and all of that. It's a very, very rigorous process, right? Okay. Having said that, if you look at So the government buying takes place on a marketplace. It's called the GEM marketplace. You'll still find, and obviously the buyers there are all public sector. Let's say they are using public money. I'll not call them the government, but they're using public money, right? Most 99.99% of them, right? Let me put it that way. You'll still find somebody asking for a DJI, and those tenders getting fulfilled. So there is an aftermarket. Let me put it that way, right? Have you been able to completely right? And that's the problem, right? That's the issue also, that the rules are there. Implementation is something which we need to be really strict about, right? That's fair, right? So if Rahul Gandhi did get this, which is very framed at his level, this is all like my advice is we will have to probably do double check whether you're authorized and all of that, right? We should do that. But if you really wanted to get a Chinese drone today, I don't think so. You will, you will have to have a too much effort.
Okay, so it's banned, and so the alternatives are all Indian companies. And just getting to his Atmanirbhar, I'm leading on to the
yes. So I'll come to the Atmanirbhar. So when we started, we said today it's very easy to do a system integration, right? 4 or 5 of us can do a system integration, get one part from here, the others from here, and assemble and do something. And
we are past masters in this, Indians.
We are past, right? I think that is still happening.
Okay.
And I will not say most of the companies, but a lot of firms which are doing that.
Assembling. So
system integration. Let me put it that way. I'll not call it assembling. I will do system integration. In that system integration effort, some of the things would also be coming from China. People use devious means. They will fly to Malaysia and then, blah, blah, blah. And, all of that is going to take place. So that problem exists. But there are genuine players.
You being one.
We being one, and there are others as well, right? So I'm not saying we are the only ones. There are genuine players who are doing considerable amount of work, right? Like say, for example, till 2 years back, you would not find some motors, let's just say, of an Indian origin. Today, some of us, people like IdeaForge have taken, we are also fairly invested in our downstream suppliers, right? So we are enabling them by giving them orders, by giving them money, by giving them expertise, by working with them, etc., that you make that motor for us. So we are enabling that ecosystem, right? Which is the right way, which is the only way, because we'll not be able to survive if these guys aren't there, right? So there is an effort moving in that direction. So today you can comfortably, right? Let me not call it comfortably, but if with effort, right, you can make a drone which is 100% Indian.
Oh, 100% Indian.
100.
Hardware and the software.
Hardware, some of the chips, etc., would come from outside, but they would come from countries of, let me not put it, which are not of concern. I will just leave it at that, right?
So it's not 100% indigenized. I mean, what level
So what I'll say, so somebody, we don't make chips in India. It is a well-known fact, right?
Yeah.
So we will probably take a chip from, let's say, South Korea. Right? Because that's something which is a country and which can be relied on and all of that, right? So we will take chip from there. We'll get it here. We'll design the fab. We'll design everything. And we'll probably give it to, let's say, somebody in, because of the skill sets, maybe somebody in Ireland who will do the entire design basis on us. He will create that IC, etc. And then we will get it back to India. So some of that is done. So is that chip is not Indian? Right, but that design on the chip is mine. Somebody may be doing it on my behalf at some other country, but countries which have got no, which are of no concern to anyone. Let me put it that way.
Sure.
Right, there are countries of concern which we want to stay away, this because of sensitivities around and the fact that our customers are armed forces, our customer are police, our customer are a lot of government. Our customers are critical infrastructure. Somebody's, looking at power lines. Somebody's looking at railways. All these are critical infrastructure. I mean, today if I were to do something, I don't even fire a bullet at the, let's say at the IB. I can pretty well, cripple the country by just looking at the electricity grid or the railway grid and so on and so forth. So we take care of some of that stuff.
So what is the level of the document says that about 70% self-reliance in UAV tech. What is not that we have?
So like what I just said, that chip is not there.
Of course.
right?
What about the flight control systems?
We have our own grounds up, because when we started,
Built in India.
make in India.
India or getting it from Israel also.
Make in India, sir. Our autopilot system, this is make in India, right? Because we also have to understand that we started in 2007 when there was nothing available. So we were one of the, so we have a autopilot, which was, and there's a patent for it. It was given the lightest autopilot, which was given to, we tried, doing with DRDO actually in 2008, if I'm correct. We did that with DRDO. The project didn't go anywhere because of whatever, it was a young company. We didn't know how to kind of navigate through DRDO also, right? DRDO is a huge company. For a 5-man company to deal with DRDO is not easy. But we had supplied the world's lightest autopilot to them way back in 2008. And they were trying to do something with it. It didn't go anywhere. That's a different issue altogether. But we have the complete grounds up that autopilot is ours. It's our technology. And it was also, a lot of times, when this tariff thing is going on now, right? The red hot thing. Sometimes necessity is the mother of invention, right? And that also happened with us.
Cryogenic engines are one example.
And there are many examples. Auto industry is all that example. So when we started, there was nothing. So we had to build everything on our own. So our autopilot is our flight controller is ours. Our communication protocol, communication chips, we would take it from somewhere. But you wouldn't believe, right? So with the chips which we take from some, is Qualcomm, right? Some of those things are Qualcomm. They're also our investors, by the way, right? So they've invested into us, right? They come to us and say, how are you able to get, I'm not able to get what performance you can extract from these is something which even I can't get. So that's the level of collaboration we do with some of these.
So tell me, as a layman, when you see 26th January parade and you see a swarm of drones going up in the sky, how much of that is an Indian company or indigenized, or how much of that, or has IdeaForge been making some kind of a visible or something, this kind of presentation?
And just to his point, when swarms go, there's, peer-to-peer communication between all of them. So who owns the software and the tech for such swarms?
Yeah, so good question, sir. So there are 2, 3, we have to kind of, peel the layers, right? So the first is that I don't know, right, whether when it was shown about 2 years back or 3 years back in one of the Army Day parades, it was called swarm, whether it was swarm in that classical sense of military sense where you have, when you have a master and then there is somebody controlling, or you can have various masters and one thing drops off. I don't know that, right? But that's the classical sense of the swarm, right? So that's the first, right? There are companies which are claiming in India, which are claiming that they have the technology. We haven't seen it as yet, right? So, okay. The other thing is, you have to look at the drone, the drone shows, right? So a lot of times people misconstrue the drone shows as swarming. That's not swarming, right? That's not a military swarming. That's a ground controller controlling
each one individually.
Each one individually is what we know of, right? There are companies which are claiming that they can do it. I'm sure there is some merit to they would have reached. Is the customer asking? Yes, the customer is asking. We have signed up for a Make 2 program where we are developing that tech. We have to give that tech to that customer. We have signed up for it. Where are we on the journey? We are very quite, we are going step by step. One to, probably, first battle is, can I fly 5 drones from single controller, right? I've achieved that. Now, can I do something else? So it's a step graded approach, which we are in that way fast, but very conservative as well, because we have to, have to make sure that you go layer by layer and layer by layer. So that's the second thing where we are. The third thing is, which is more concerning to us, right, is that what is the use case? So have you figured out the con ops for it? Let me put it that way. So you would agree, sir, when you go, there is a spatial distance, right? So today, I am not clear that if you want to, suppose you want to launch a 2000, so everybody 2000 swarm. Who's going to lay those birds on the ground? Simple things like that, right? who's authorized to do that, who's going to control. So some of those things will need to emerge now with ConOps, right? Let me just put it the operations part of it.
I'm not following. So if this is the defense doing this, if this is the Indian Army doing this, so they would lay it on the ground or something.
I mean,
They would have to have a collaboration with you.
so that piece needs to probably get sorted out from the operations perspective also.
Okay.
Technology perspective, I think there is a lot happening in the world. Let me put it that way, especially on this tech, right? And this is one part of the tech. Swarming is one capability. There are others which are like which is like a AI capabilities, getting AI capabilities, getting computer vision on it, getting GNS is denied, because what we also have to learn what's happening in the, let's say, the Ukraine-Russia, and when you learn from that, you also have to juxtapose that on your territory, because I'll tell you what happens. There are 30 at least companies out of Ukraine which would have approached us. 30 is a maybe an exaggeration, but there are few, let's just say, through directly or through somebody, right? That this has been battle tested, and now that's the next right. This is battle tested in that and we've in the Ukraine-Russia conflict and so on and so forth. But battle tested is okay, it's fine. I believe you, but the fact is, you're talking about Ukrainians, that conflict which is taking place on plains of Ukraine. My battle was not going to be on mountains, right? And if you're showcasing me a catapult launch and a parachute recovered drone, right? How will I recover? So you've been in the infantry. Can you ever recover a parachute in the mountains? Not. You cannot recover, right? So good that you've been battle tested, but it's a wrong environment. So that technology will come from here, right? Will have to be necessarily come from here, right? Like the way we thought about it. So when there was an RFP or there was an opportunity, let me put it that way, wherein it was again mountains, right? It was asked for by mountains. It was a global RFP. Everybody was thinking of, we will do this, runway, we'll use some short strip, etc. We fundamentally went to the design board, right? That's how we think, sir. We fundamentally went to the design board and saying, in mountains, how can you recover anything? Where will you get a runway? Where will you get a catapult? How will I get an infrastructure? How will I get a slingshot? I mean, this cannot happen. So what we said, let's just junk this approaches, right? With where global players are coming up. We said the simplest approach is it has to be a VTOL, vertical takeoff and landing. And then because there is a lot of power which gets consumed, right? It has to give you that kind of flight time, all electric, right? Then it has to transition into a fixed mode. So I think one of the most successful of our product was born. So we call it the switch, right? Which is a vertical takeoff and then a transition into a fixed mode. Completely different way of thinking. But you have to, that you come when you start to...
And for retrieving it, again it comes...
Vertical takeoff, it will come land on its own. You are totally autonomous, right? You don't have to do anything. So that's the kind of, deep thinking which we do, because we have to juxtapose the technology onto operations, onto the environment, onto terrain, and that's when successful products and successful solutions come out.
So tell me, where your journey with the armed forces, where is it? Are you still are you collaborating? Are there firm orders? Are you headed towards commercializing of your drones? Where is it? What is the level which is there in the country, and also the police, the CAPS or something?
Sir, that's one of the banes of the entire system per se. All right, of let's say the way anybody procures in India. All right, you have to live from one RFP to the other, right? And we also do the same, right? Is it the most optimal? No, it is not the most optimal. And I'll give you an example, right? So there was a project by the UK MOD, and we whatever we did, right? The project said that today I want a capability X, right? This project is going to go for 8 years, or I think 8 or 10 years. I am putting out £1 billion for this project. Today I want this capability is this number. Well, will I need the same capability after 2 years? He says, I don't know. I can give you generic line of direction. All right. But you as a partner, firstly, I will evaluate you. You as my collaborator or a partner, all right, you have to then run the course with me. Right. I will do my due diligence that, you are capable of doing that. How many patents have you got?
Which is basically changing tech and changing requirements along the way.
Changing requirements along the way. This is the game which is going to get.
But that is a fait accompli, because the technology is advancing so fast that what we give you now, the goalpost will change automatically.
So the goalpost will change. But now, if I wanted to invest in that, so finally the family will not change, right? Then by and large, I know what the capabilities are. Now if I made a priori investments in this, right, I will continue to keep investing in that platform because I'm not looking at over my shoulder whether I'll get the next PO or will I, get the next supply order or not, right? That uncertainty is what kills the industry, right? I don't know how to take that demand signaling, right? That demand signaling is a little problematic. Let me put it that way right now.
Is there anything concrete which you are facing, which you are thinking that there's light at the end of the tunnel here?
Sir, we participate in in opportunities, in RFPs, and most of the time we are successful. But again, these are, like I said, sir, these are I don't know what is. So people will, to be fair to the services, they will also come out with their 5-year long-term perspective plans, and so we all know that, right? But does it materialize in that fashion? It does not materialize. We also know that the history will tell you, right? So that gap of that, what I don't know in the next 1 year, what is going to be coming, so that I can start to invest.
So what needs to change? What should change?
So there is this maybe in certain areas, right? If let's say certain players have delivered, right? So let's say, for example, swarming. Let's take example of swarming, right? If somebody has shown promise, given you tech, all right, he may have some element of that tech. He may have 60% of what you know today, because tomorrow it will going to be, even you don't know. That's the problem, right? Even you don't know. So if somebody is shown 60%, and not only in the tech part, on, let's say, delivering is not trivial, right? Because people will showcase it, but when it comes to delivery, they'll not be able to deliver it, right? Somebody has given you that proof points of delivery. Somebody has given you proof points of, let's say, maintenance, right? So now look at it from a different perspective, right? Not many people think about it, but I have, let's say, given 5,000 birds to, let's say, the Indian Army. Just, say for example, 5,000 UAVs, right? Those 5,000 UAVs, and by the way, we've done about, close to about 6.6 million, 600,000 flights with our birds. So we have that experience, right? Now look at it from that perspective, that today, if the army has, let's say, Rafales, not the army, the Air Force, right? It's again a aircraft. There are 3 bases or 4 bases where it gets flown from, and it flies and takes off, right? Every day, probably every flight it takes, right? I have to maintain it at 4 places. Maybe there's some hub and spoke arrangement. That's obviously the criticality or this is much higher. Yeah. But those 5,000 birds which I give, all right, are flying technically from 5,000 different locations every day. Today 5,000, tomorrow 5,000 different, day after 5,000. So you can imagine the nightmare it is to go and maintain. It's not easy.
No, but if you look at the armed forces, per se, and you're looking at drones, then there could be a hub, say, which is J&K centric. There could be a hub which is Ladakh centric.
Sir, we are doing some of that. So we are innovating. So like I said, sir, innovation for us is kind of in our genes, right? So we take it from a technology. We will look at operational models. How do you go support? How do you train? So all of that, all right? So where I was coming from. So if you've given that, so to say, proof points along the way, right, of technology, of delivery, of serviceability,
and
maintainability, then there has to be some incentive. There has to be some incentivization, and then incentivization comes that what, I can get you let's say a 5-year contract or a 6-year contract or a 7-year, whatever, right? And you will also keep tinkering. But today, if I have to do a platform today, I don't know what the next version of that platform will be. I'm doing, obviously, looking at what's happening in the environment, but there is no confirmed demand signaling which is coming up. So I may have given you 1,000 birds, but I also have 500 people in my organization. I also have to make sure that they have a work next day.
But are you saying that these 1,000 drones that have been supplied, their maintenance is not currently guaranteed, even if they are manufactured by you?
No, so we guarantee.
No. By the defense, by the user. I thought that if manufactured by you, then it would have continuity.
They are. So those birds, right? Those birds have been. So now, if out of my 500 people, maybe 100 people are doing maintenance.
Okay.
Right. There are about 300 who are, let's say, engineers, right? Engineers, sales, etc., whatever. Right? There are 100 people who are on the shop floor. I also have to make sure that the shop floor is, continuously running.
So what you're saying here is that because of the changing tech, the spec may change, and so the contracts sometimes are stalled or something.
They're not stalled. They are not. They are multi-year contracts.
Okay, got it.
Right. You may want to do the same thing. So if I had given out a specs from, let's say, iPhone 16, right, and I have given you iPhone 16, right. Next year you again go in iPhone 16. Where is the logic of possibly it is not very clear, not very apparent to us. If somebody has given you iPhone 16, is running well, take that iPhone 16 and move ahead, right? Because these are very small industry.
Basically, continue with that until a new version or something is demanded.
But you see, optimum business model would be that you take out whatever you need to take out in the first contract itself. Rest anything, any repeat order would be a bonus for you.
Sir, it doesn't work out that way. I'll tell you why. We don't have a 50-year legacy, right? That we've been doing this for over and over. This is a very high pace.
Actually, there aren't any Indian companies anyways. So
no. So maybe it is
sense of monopoly that few among you would large.
Maybe if I were to look at those large business houses, they have legacy. They can do probably what you suggested. For us in this high tech pace, very difficult to say that, in the first one, because it is also, please remember, the first time it is also competitive. It is not that,
L1 base.
It is not that somebody doling out a contract to you on that, right? So there are, what we require is confirmed demand signaling and a little bit of support. And at some point in time, when people have delivered, you need to incentivize people who have delivered, who have performed.
Yeah.
Right. And, kind of clear the wheat from the chaff, right? That's all we are saying.
Let me switch a little bit and ask about, what are the testing standards? Is there a standard for quality and safety and hijacking proof? We know one of our drones was hijacked. I don't know who was the supplier to that for defense. I think it was Pakistan.
Well, maybe it was jammed. You see.
Oh.
So I think
and there is Manipur bombing.
There is a lot of misinformation also in the system, and a lot of times it is misinformation. What I feel could also be done by foreign players. I don't deny that, right? Can't confirm it, can't deny it, but it could be various, right? So firstly, that what we know of that incident which you're talking of Pakistan. So firstly, do we really think that Pakistan has the capability of taking over something? I doubt.
I've heard that Pakistan has better drone technology than India at this point.
In a way that recently, there was last year, this was a news, which was not something that government official has, released the press note on the same. That it was some company, which has given the order to they supplied their drones to the Indian army. They were monitoring at the China border. Okay. And at that time, the Pakistani intelligence, they hacked into the system because the equipments were being provided by that company were using the Chinese equipment, and that is how that.
So what he's saying is, and I'll repeat for the camera.
Being covered, highly by
covered. Yeah, so covered. So, but it may not be the right. So the fact of the matter is that what just Sir said, right? To our knowledge, and if the army has come out with something, we need to figure out, because I'm sure if there is an incident occurs, the system and the processes are so robust, right? There would have been a code inquiry, there would have been a board of officers, they would have done the entire, and if they found this, then the company would have been blacklisted.
Okay.
And all their equipment, a defect report would have been raised, and all their equipment would have been grounded. Right. So that's the process. Right. We shouldn't undermine that process of that. Right. And we've seen that process. We know it works.
Actually, to that point, one has heard that, there was a complete stall in purchase of new drones after a few incidents. So is that true or?
No, I will not say that. Right. So to what we know, like what you're saying, it was jammed. The GNSS was denied. The GPS was jammed.
Okay.
And I think the communication was also jammed. Right. Today, when these probably drones were procured, a lot of people did not have that technology. But today, that technology of GPS denial exists. We have a GPS denial. We can do a GPS. So if you jam a GPS, because now we've got a computer vision, we do what we do, AI, and we can go and complete our mission, right? Or at least return to home and so on and so forth, right? But so there is a lot of misinformation.
Sure.
That somebody can hack, somebody can do it. A week, 10 days back, there was again an incident which somebody reported, a defense journalist reported, which says one of the Israeli drones got hacked by Chinese, and in fact they kind of, and I was wanting to figure out how can, if the Chinese were to hijack it, why will they lose the control after, let's say, 2 hours? They were not playing with it. Nobody plays with your drone, right? And then give it back to the right. They would have either crash landed or landed it at their site and done some reverse engineering if that was the intent, right? None of that happened. They said, you know what, they hacked it for 2 hours and they gave it back. Right. And again, I think the army came out with a rejoinder in this case for almost about within 3 days that this was none of that happened. Having said that, is there an issue? Is there an elephant in the room? Yes, there is an elephant in the room. Let's not trivialize it, right? There are instances. I think there was few orders which were cancelled as well, right? And there was a communique by the Ministry of Defense to FICCI and some of the other members that some companies they had highlighted that you please do business at your own risk, do some ratification, etc., etc. So there is a concern, and we've been voicing this concern for a very, very long time. And I believe now with that concern, the army has come out with, it is rather coming out. So they check, but now they want to really, really go and double check, right? In fact, there is some procurement which is taking place now. They say we will strip open everything.
Okay.
We will get down to each, right? No self-certification, nothing. We've been wanting to run a campaign called Trust But Verify, right? And that's what army started to do. Trusting your paperwork.
Stripping open will not help because there is this, entire PCB layer.
So
or the flight.
I think so. So they are now going to. So this is the first, right? Okay. There is also a framework which is coming, which I think the Army Design Bureau is working on. They are coming up with a framework as to what you have to, make sure that it not coming from a country of particular origin.
Sure, that's fine.
Also, we have to understand that there are frameworks available. So the US gives a framework. So, you have to also, take it with, you have to do a balancing act. You also have to say that, today if I were to say, in my televisions or let's say the telecom world, right? Nothing coming from China, let's just say, right? It's not possible.
Yeah.
A lot of that system, but what you have to be smart. None of the active elements which can touch the data layer or which can touch the communication layer or which can touch the GPS or which can touch the payload should be from China. And that's how the NDA, which is the National Defense Authorization Act of the US government, is like that. They recognize that there will be some part, there will be a carbon rod which will come from China.
Got it.
There will be a resistor which will be coming from China. There will be a wire which will be.
Framework you're talking about.
That is the framework which I believe the ADB is, doing in and gradually making sure.
Quality controls in all of this, for the defense, for example.
Oh, defense has got a very robust this, right? So
there are standards that have been defined.
There are
countrywide, like at the India level or at the.
So at the India level, if I look at non-defense, so let's look at non-defense first, okay, right? Then we'll come to defense. For the non-defense one, there is a whole certification process, right? I can't be selling a UAV today to anybody without a certification. right? And the certification process goes like the final custodian or the authority to do that is with the DGCA, and rightly so. They have, downgrade, they have kind of distributed their workload, right, to Quality Council of India. So they have, so you go to Quality Council of India, or there is some different labs. You go, there is a format given by which they will go check your product, etc., to what you're claiming. They will do a quality. If they're not satisfied, and it takes, it's quite a rigorous process. Again, it takes 3 to 4 to 5 months at time, right? They will raise observations. You have to clear those observations. This will go back and forth. Once they are fully satisfied, it will go to DGCA. They have a directorate now there within the DGCA called the drone directorate. Will go to them. They will then start the questioning the manufacturer or the OEM as to how you've done this, what is it, where it is, etc., etc. After they've satisfied, then they will qualify this drone. It's called the TC, right? So they will give you a TC, post which only you can now eligible to be selling it to enterprise or even most of the police customers.
So are there buyers of your drones among the police?
Oh yes, sir.
The paramilitary or
The paramilitary, all paramilitary.
ITBP has bought some drones?
ITBP has bought some drones, sir. ITBP has got, BSF has got, CRPF is a very large customer of ours. So all of these people would then buy drones which are TC, which have got a certificate, right? Now, so that's on the non-defense side. Now let's get down to the defense side.
And there's something which you are supplying. You supply say a pizza from place A to place B?
Sir, that's I think there is a lot of buzz around that, but we think that finally at this point in time, the unit economics don't make sense, right? So probably at some point in time they will. At this point in time, there are a lot of things which need to be done, right? So including a thing called the certification per se, which is called the BV laws, which is called, so today actually, if I were to, you can only fly, if I were to remain within the rules of the country, within the ambit of the rules, you can only fly a drone which is in your visual line of sight. So if I were to, I'm sitting here, if I wanted to fly it, let's say India Gate, my drone is capable. India Gate would be how much? 2 kilometers from here, as the crow flies, right? But I can't fly because I can't see that drone, right? So you can only fly till you can see. That's the government mandate.
If it is a non-defense thing.
If it is a non-defense thing. Defense, there are other, right?
But what about CAPS? If they are flying, say, the VSF, but if flying along the line of control or the ITB.
So they take approvals and they do that, because like my flagship product Switch, right? It flies for 25 kilometers. Obviously, you can't see anything more than about 1.5 kilometers, maybe 2 kilometers, right? But you can't fly. But they still use for for A&E operations, for border patrolling, etc. All of those getting used, but they get exceptions. They write to DGCA, the DGCA gives them exceptions and not. But as a rule, there is the thing called you have to be within the visual line of sight. So pizza delivery, let's say for example, if I'm Domino's, I'm sitting out of here and I have to deliver it in 3 blocks away, there'll be 3 buildings. There is no way you can have a car, right? So that BVLOS is not. So people are doing experiments right now. So unless until that regime gets, fine. So firstly, that regulatory hurdle is there. And secondly is that unit economics, right? I don't think so that the unit economics is there as of now. It may appear in the next couple of, maybe years.
You see, because many times I see this accident which happened in the Potomac. Now the helicopter was given visual control, but it still went into aircraft which was landing. Something like that will not happen in India because we have more stringent kind of checks and balances.
See, sir. So, and that's why I think they are also looking at a UTM, they call it, the Unified Traffic Management. Because now with the manned and the unmanned, right? Imagine now you are flying, there are BVLS operations, which I was referring to, beyond visual line of sight of operations happening, right? Somebody is delivering a pizza and, or somebody is delivering something else and there's an aircraft, manned aircraft. So how do you control that air traffic, right? That is a big, right? And it is not in India. So by the way, it is not the problem in India. It is globally. right? There are only exceptions which are there, which our people are toying with ideas. Like I think yesterday only, or maybe today, there was this China trying to do with the air taxi, unmanned, air mobility. So while technology is maturing, the regulations will also have to mature, and there'll come a time when the two shall meet, and we'll see more exciting things happening in this world.
What is the scenario with exports at this point of drones? Yours and generally the Indian drone industry.
Yeah, so I think one of the realizations with a lot of us is that India as a market, right, because of whatever the regulatory, still some regulatory, like I said, BVLOS is not there, and the entire buying cycle, right, which is there is no confirmed demand signaling, etc. We think that we have to go out of the country, and there is an opportunity galore, right? So, and by this opportunity is emerged is that the 800-pound gorilla, so to say, in this industry, especially for civilian police uses, is being one of the Chinese DJI. And China is not the flavor of the, let's say, may call the century, or at least this decade, right? World over. So there is a backlash coming that, and we really don't know what they are doing with that data. Because finally, whichever way you look at it, drone is is at the data acquisition layer. So you are acquiring a lot of data, right? So people are really not sure as to where the data is going, what is somebody doing, and we know the concerns everybody has. So we find that as a big opportunity, right? That probably we could be the factory to the world. And I think the Honorable Prime Minister is also wanting by 2030 India to become the drone hub of the world. Doable, right? And that's what
that would include the chip also, because we should be
correct, sir. By hopefully by that time, a lot of things would fall into place, right? Now, we as an for one, we say that which is the market which we want to go to, right? And we wanted to export, and say whatever the headwinds are in the Indian market or the tailwinds, let's still explore. And where to explore, and we have a unique way of kind of analyzing which country and so on and so forth. So we say that okay, the country should have a large land mass, right? So the first requirement. So many ticks came up. Russia came up on, North America came, Australia came. Then we said okay, developed economy, right? It should have a capacity to pay, capacity to ingest technology, capacity to absorb technology, English speaking, friendly, etc., etc. So all of this, when we used our metric, we came up with, let's look at North America. So we we went to the US. We went there almost about a year and a half, maybe 2 years back, maybe 21 months, right? Somewhere thereof. We went to the US, we incorporated a entity also there. So we have IdeaForge in US, which is there. And today, but we also realized that there is, while our products are, kind of super cat products in the Indian context, there is some tweaking which is required because of being in the US, right? And I'll give you a very funny, it's not funny, but it's something very interesting example, right? And that being that out here, we had built our products like, so that complete autonomy. You just have to put it, say, go fly, it will go fly, and then everything is automated. But completely autonomous systems is what we believe in. That we think that, primarily, if you have a job, your job is not to be flying drones. If you're a war fighter, your job is not to be flying drones. You have a war to fight. It is an assisted tool. So it has to be put as less cognitive load on you, right? That's been a philosophy of how we design everything. As less cognitive load onto your brain as possible. So we went very high on autonomy. We went to the US, the same product. While the US is talking, very high, you want autonomous product, you have autonomous driving, etc., etc. We realized a lot of people are control freaks there. They want, because they've been flying from generation. So it also depends upon which generation you've been using this. And when they used it, it came with joysticks. So he says, I'm not feeling comfortable. Suddenly it's the same thing that the Tesla started. They said, we'll give a yoke instead of a driving wheel, right? It is more efficient, etc., etc. And when they said it is a bad design, nobody wanted to buy, do anything with Tesla at that point of time. So they changed to a steering wheel because that's the habit. So that's one of our learnings, right? So we are I wouldn't say we are taking away autonomy feature, but we are building some manual features into it so that people get a sense of control, right? So that's all our learning in the, the product market fit. So we've done that journey. I think should be very close to getting some of probably our first contract as far as the US is concerned, right? And this is going to be in the enterprise and the federal police and so on and so forth. US DOD is still some time away because takes time to develop.
That's particular to, are there other countries in, say, Southeast Asia that Indians are exporting to? Or
so this is where we focused on. Now with what we have learned, right, we have started to, so we also realized when we started to go to other countries, and is that if you have sold it in the US, suddenly your, the stature increases, right?
And you have their certifications, it becomes that much easier.
Correct. So now that we've done some bit there, we are finding it, the adaptation of, now we are going to Africa, we're going to Southeast Asia, we are finding our products to be much, right? So are we a big exporter? No, we are not a big exporter as yet. There have been some piecemeal, which we have taken, but we are, hopefully this year should be the turnaround year, because we now can, we have a kind of, let me put it, a sense of where these opportunities are, how do you go and tackle them, and so on and so forth. So you find.
For the opportunity, I thought that if it was a David versus the Goliath, drone was what David would want to have, not the Goliath or a developed nation, because he has many other kind of platforms of war fighting.
So, sir, you're right. But today, the fact of the matter is that both David and Goliath want this technology. And I'll give you this, right?
So, both is acceptable. But you wanting to home on to developed countries first.
So, developed countries was the reason, sir, because if you can prove the tech there, right, that's their home ground, right? If you can prove the tech there, suddenly acceptability to the other armies, to the other thing, really, really, very increases. Because, so you also have to keep that in mind. Our decision was taken 21 months earlier. In the last 2 months, what has happened? Probably we would have rethunk that decision. I mean, I'm being very, very candid, right? A lot of the world has changed in the last 2.5, 3 months, right? It's a very different world, right? Probably things would have been a different thinking. But having said that, we've taken that.
The world has got trumped.
The world has got wherever it has gone, right? So it's not same anymore, right? But the fact is that the lessons are learned are what is very exciting. And why I'm saying very exciting is that if you look at the large platforms, right? I think yesterday there was a news where the Houthis have downed I think the 14th or the 15th Reaper, MQ-9 Reaper has been downed by them, right? In the US, Ukraine, not US, the Russian-Ukraine war, these large birds, right, were the first one to, were the first one to get out of the equation. When I say large, this really large MQ-9, $100 million kind of birds, right? Because the fact is that they're too slow, they're too big, and lot of assets get kind of concentrated there. So that drone itself would have firepower, it would have ISR, it would have electronic warfare, it will do signal intelligence. You know it, sir. It will do whole lot of stuff. And
it's a composite platform.
I mean, then we realize it's $100 million platform, and it goes like that, right? So suddenly the world has changed. They are okay for peacetime missions, but when the balloon goes up, when there is war fighting, they'll be the first ones to be knocked down, right? I think that's the realization, and that's why you find the smaller and the more leaner platforms are getting a flavor, right? And that's where we are building towards.
Specific usage.
We don't want to concentrate everything in one. Yeah. And I might well have 20 of, in that cost, or maybe 100 in that cost, than just one platform, which is too big and too slow, which will get knocked down the very first go, right? So that's the other change which we are finding. But we are very, very gung-ho that I think this year, the MOD takes the year of transformation, right? They want to transform the way everything is going to. I hope there will be a transformation there, and we are also looking at this as an year of international expansion. So we've taken also some very stiff targets, very stiff goals for ourselves to really get down to the world and export it, right? But there is demand. We have the technology. There is demand.
I can see the excitement in your eyes.
Yes.
But there has to be a lot of things which need to be done, sir. And I think one of the things is that there is also this is a dual use technology, right? And it is getting very it's not very efficient. Let me put it that way. That every time I have to today's buyer, right? They're all buyers. So you and I have coming from that generation where if you click on Amazon, right, we want the product the next day, or now with the quick delivery service, we want it in the next 8 minutes or 10 minutes, blink it, right? But the enterprise buyer is also the same nature now. His mentality has shifted. He wants it now, right? Unfortunately for us, what's happened is because of this dual use technology, there is a long cycle now to even take our platforms out of the country to give you a demonstration. And this is a platform we make a lot of tall claims. When I say tall claims, tall but verified claims, because people are not ready to easily believe what we are saying, right? Because nobody has done it. A lot of places we defy physics, and that's because we do a lot of innovation, etc., etc. So people are naturally very intrigued to find out. I want to see it, right? I don't believe you. I want to see it. Now, if you want to see it, I have to get it to your country to see it and all of that. So that process itself is not streamlined in India right now, at least for military tech, right? Or call it military tech, dual use technology, which can be used for both civilian and military use. I think that's something which we need to, and we've been working with the government and with DGF to make it more streamlined, because the customer is not ready to wait. I can't say that, hey, I want this. Then, I will take 3 months to come to you to give you a demonstration. There are many other who will say, hey, I'm coming there tomorrow, right? That's another challenge which we are facing as far as this export,
Yeah. So essentially, layman terms, what you're saying is because it's dual use drones, the Indian government has restrictions on what you can do with military grade drones in terms of exporting.
Correct.
They need to
not exporting. So exporting, yes, do take some time, because we also will take some time to manufacture. It is not off the shelf. But for simple things like demonstrations, even if I were to
demonstrations, forget export.
For demonstration, right? It should be over the counter. I should be able to just take this and go for demonstration. Or if I want to for each country, because that's where the ball starts to roll, right? That's the first point in our conversation with anybody is acquiring anything technology. That's the first point, and we are lacking there. And so
that basically needs to change, and some of this hopefully the government is, people in the government and bureaucracy are listening to this. Lovely conversation.
Yes. I think it was very fruitful, very knowledgeable. We really gained, because you see, the fact is that it takes two to tango, and if you are making something and there is a user, both have to come together if you want the transformation to take place. And I feel both you, the corporate, and the government is well-meaning, and the only thing is that certain hurdles which come in the way, because it is a path which everyone, it is something new for all of us.
Absolutely, sir. It's a very exciting technology, and I think if we play as a nation, if we play our cards well, especially in very critical technologies like this, and maybe AI and others, and there is a lot of thinking which is going on. We shouldn't miss this technology wave, right? Yeah. We don't want to be at innovating. We don't want to be in the IT services business for lifelong, right? It has done wonders to this country, where there's no denying that, right? But we have to move to the next level of creating our own LLMs and the AI models and so on and so forth, as also in some of these deep tech, where you could really go in, because this, whether we like it or we don't like it, this technology is getting adopted, will get adopted.
Absolutely.
Right? And at scale.
Good. Thank you for that conversation. Thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed the conversation. Leave us your comments and tell us about more such conversations that you'd like to hear on Sangam Talks Business. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Great.